Some crazy trade ideas here for the Buffalo Bills that I've been kind of exploring in my head, and considering that we have so much cap space, maybe the Buffalo Bills will consider them. And the first one on my list, and I'm not saying that we should do this by any means, but when you consider what the potential fully is here of trading these players, I think we got to consider it, right? Especially if we get a high draft pick here for the Buffalo Bills, and one of which is Trey White. Obviously, Trey White coming off an ACL, coming off an Achilles. I mean, I don't know how much trade value he would actually have, but we know that he's still a great player. I'm sure there's other teams in the NFL they're going to trust that he is going to come back. Now, we have the internal insight to Trey White. So I think Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, they see how hard Trey White is working. They see his work ethic. They fully grasp whether he's going to come back to be like the player that he once was. So other teams exploring that, I think they would be slightly more nervous and hesitant to trade, especially a high draft pick for Trey White. But you got to keep in mind, our coaches have moved on to other teams. You know, Brian Dable and Joe Shane, the GM for the New York Giants, they understand Trey White. They've been around Trey White. Other guys that have moved on, like Eric Washington and just other coaches that have been here in Buffalo, they do have some internal insight into Trey White. So maybe he does still have trade value, knowing that we have Christian Benford, Kyer Elam, right? Rasul Douglas now too. So the whole point I'm trying to make here is just reflecting back on last season and how they say the last game really shows our deficiencies. What were the Buffalo Bills' deficiencies last year without Trey White, without Matt Milano, even without a healthy Von Miller? Man, the deficiencies were really on the offensive side of the ball, not having explosive plays, chunk yardage. And, you know, the Buffalo Bills defense, we actually came together. I mean, there was a lot that we had to overcome, mixing and matching throughout the year, really trying to figure out ourselves. But once we figured it out, our defense was pretty great. It was pretty great. And that was without Matt Milano. So that's my next player is, why not consider trading Matt Milano? Now, I don't want to do this at all. Like, Matt Milano is literally one of my favorite players on this team. So, and we know how good Matt Milano is. And it's just, you really think about it, Matt Milano on this defense last year, if he was healthy, would have been absolutely remarkable. And I do think that it was partially a deficiency of ours in that last and final game, right? A.J. Klein coming off the bench, not even on the team, going to Key West for a vacation, and the Bills call him back up to come here in Buffalo. So we really had to dig deep into the depth of this Buffalo Bills team, plus Dotson being a free agent. But just think about the respect that Matt Milano has in this league. People know Matt Milano. And, I mean, gosh, you're talking a potential first-round pick, second-round pick, third-round pick, coupled together. I mean, teams would throw the bank at the Buffalo Bills for Trey White and Matt Milano. So I do think it's just something to ponder at and consider. I know some of you are going to get at me in the comments, be like, "They were never trading Trey White. We would never trade Matt Milano. You are absolutely nuts." But why not consider it? Why not think about it and just be like, wait, if we get a first and a second round pick for Matt Milano, or 2 second-round picks for Trey White, or whatever it is, man, and you got to consider we have them on reasonable deals too. Like we signed them years ago. They're on a reasonable deal, which is enticing for other teams to bring these players in. So I really do think that is a plausibility. The next player I wanted to discuss is actually Von Miller. Now, Von Miller, it's sad to see, like, we really haven't seen Von Miller ever since we signed him to that 6-year deal. I mean, he played throughout the year and did very well the first year he was with us, and then gets hurt on Thanksgiving, goes down. We didn't really see him at all last year, and now we're all anticipating that Von Miller is going to come back to being himself. Now, keep in mind, we didn't trade Von Miller. We didn't draft Von Miller. We signed Von Miller in free agency. So being that we can maybe trade Von Miller and get some sort of value back for a free agent that we brought in, I like that idea. I like that premise of being able to get something that we paid for in free agency, right? But I love Von Miller too. Like, I know Von Miller is going to be the best version of himself that he's been here in Buffalo. He knows this defense. He knows this scheme. We are missing Leonard Floyd, AJ Epinesa. We could very well lose them to free agency. And you really considered the back end of this defense, right, with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Man, it's sad to say, but like Jordan Poyer, I think, is getting a little up in age. We are paying him like a little bit more than $7 million a year. It'd be nice to keep Jordan Poyer here for another year and solidify things, but just something to consider. Jordan Poyer had an excellent season last year. He's excellent seasons all throughout the years, and hitting free agency the year before that and really not getting the money that he wanted just kind of proves to you that there might not be that much value for a Jordan Poyer trade. So, I really am considering that. And lastly, I think you guys all know this last one is Stefon Diggs, right? Stefon Diggs and what that would present with Josh Allen and this entire offense. You kind of look at the Kansas City Chiefs and mimic them a little bit with getting rid of Tyreek Hill and not really having a true number one wide receiver, and they go on to win the Super Bowl. So I don't think defenses know how to exactly play you, right? Any given play, any of your wide receivers could be the number one wide receiver versus locking into Stefon Diggs as our true number one perimeter threat, going through the progressions with him always being the number one, teams rolling coverage over there. I really think we have to be this like chameleon style offense where we mix and match and teams really don't know what's coming at them. And the trade value for Stefon Diggs would be huge. I mean, I don't know if we would get a first-round pick. I would definitely say a second-round pick at least. And there are a ton of wide receivers coming out in this year's NFL draft. Now, again, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh my gosh, we should definitely do this. Trade Stefon Diggs, trade Matt Milano, trade Trey White, trade Jordan Poyer. But I just wanted to present this video to you to kind of tickle your brain, make you ponder it a little bit, understand what it would ultimately do for this team. It would save cap space tremendously for the Buffalo Bills while also building for the future in a dynasty here in Buffalo. So I really do love each and every single one of these players. Like, it would actually hurt me so bad to see these players leave and get traded. But I think this is just something that we need to consider. Consider the deficiencies that we had last year, the lack of chunk yardage with Stefon Diggs on offense, really our defense maintaining itself without a healthy Von Miller, without Matt Milano, without Trey White. So just something to consider there, guys. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like, subscribe. 80% of you are not subscribed to the channel, so just check the link down below. Make sure you are subscribed. We're so close to 5K following. Absolutely love you guys so much. You guys are the absolute freaking best. But I appreciate you. Hit like, subscribe, and go Bills.